So you've decided to start an e-commerce business and sell a product or service online. You have some ideas on what kind of product or service you would like to sell, but now you're really looking to validate that idea and nail it down to make sure if that's the right product or service you would like to sell online. So stay tuned because in this video, I'll help you exactly do that. Hi, my name is Yatin Singhal. Over the last 5 years, I've sold millions of dollars worth of products online through my e commerce business. I hold an MBA from McGill University in marketing. Before we get into this video, if you could just hit that like button and subscribe, that would help me tremendously in order to generate useful content for you. So, without any delay, let's get right into it. So, you have some initial ideas on what kind of product or service you would like to sell, and you really want to make sure that it's the right kind of product, right kind of service that is well suited to sell online. So what I'll do is I'll go through some characteristics. Some of them are quite obvious, you may have already heard of them or you may know them, while there's some that are less obvious that people don't really think about. And comparing your product and service against these characteristics should give you a really good idea to make sure if it's a product or service that is suited well to e-commerce. First thing I would like to talk about is demand or market sizing. So this is fairly obvious. Whatever product or service you want to sell online, you want to make sure that there's actually market demand for it. So this you can try out in several ways. Of course, you have feedback from friends, family, from other general people in the market to figure out if it's a product or service people are using. Just to give you an idea, for example, if you think about something very regular like coffee, there's probably millions of people who drink coffee very regularly. Coffee versus if you think about something like a premium athletic shoe, a football shoe, then yes, of course, there's market out there for it, but comparatively, relatively, it's going to be a lot smaller market for that compared with coffee. Demographics and geography matters as well. So if you think, for example, Canadian population, that's where I'm based in Canada right now, is around 40 million. The US population is about 10 times larger than that. So just by the fact of being located as a business operating in Canada, it reduces your market size to about a tenth. Now, within Canada as well, what you want to make sure is the product and service that you're trying to sell. How many people actually use that on a day to day, monthly, or annual basis? And that should give you a good idea of what is the actual product demand for the product or service you're trying to sell. The next thing, again, an obvious one, is to look for lower competition. And again, so do not start another business printing shirts online. There's thousands and thousands of people already doing that. If it's a product or service that is already being sold by Amazon, by Walmart, those are huge businesses with tremendous economies of scale, marketing budgets. So it's going to be really tough to compete against them. So what you want to make sure is you want to make sure that there's some evidence in the market that the product or service has demand, has a market, but at the same time, it's not so widespread that it's going to get very tough to compete with the big giants in that kind of space. The third thing, and from here on, is where the list gets a bit less obvious. So, what you want to think about is the value of the product or service you're trying to sell. So, for example, think jewelry. Jewelry is a very high value item, so that makes good for selling online. Similarly, the item may not be high value, but something that is subscription based or used very regularly. So, again, from our previous example, let's think about coffee. So, it may not be high value in itself, but people tend to buy that regularly, or people would buy in bulk amounts to sort of increase your cart values. So why is that really important? It's really important because one of the largest costs in terms of for any e-commerce business is going to be the cost to acquire customers, to get people on your website and purchase. And what a higher cart value or a higher order value, item value would help you to do is really allow you to spend more money on marketing, because after paying for cost of goods, labor, shipping, things like that, you still have a good budget left there in order to market and really grow and scale your business. Another item along the same lines, thinking about shipping and fulfillment. So shipping and fulfillment is one of, again, the big costs in running in any sort of e-commerce operation. So you want a product that is lighter and that has a smaller volume. So for example, compare uh, selling big giant cement blocks versus selling jewelry online. Yes, there might be a lot of demand or a bigger market for giant cement blocks, but just the weight and volume of that would make it very challenging to perform any sort of shipping in an e-commerce world compared with a lighter item, higher value item that's easier to ship. Another aspect to look into is how easy it is to pack and actually ship the product. So if you're selling glass jars, pottery, vases, things like that, there might be a good market for that. However, it's incredibly tough and challenging in order to make sure that those products are packed really well so they can survive long transit times, handling during transit, which is, as an e-commerce business, outside your control. Whereas if there's another product that is quite sturdy, very less spoilage, breakage, so that would lend itself well to be able to ship long distances. The final point I would make is a product, an ideal product would be one that doesn't require a lot of customization. So think about a custom tailored suit. So it's a product that there's always going to be challenges around getting the exact right sizes from customers, making sure those kind of sizes are manufactured in the same manner in your manufacturing facility, and then getting them to the customer and making sure that that fits the customer perfectly well. So there's a lot of challenges when we think about products that are quite custom. And whereas if it's a product that is standard, so think about, for example, coffee from our previous example, or kind of tie that, it's quite standardized. There doesn't need to be a lot of sizing involved, and it's something that is quite standardized that can really propel your e-commerce progress and your e-commerce growth. So if I was to give some examples, so products that do really well would be things like digital services. Again, shipping, handling, all of those things are minimized, whereas value of that product can potentially be higher. Electronic products make for great e-commerce products, again, for the same reason, because they tend to be high value, smaller volume, smaller weights. Jewelry products, beauty products sort of all need the same category, whereas products that may not be ideally suited to e-commerce would involve things like construction materials that generally tend to be bigger, bulkier, heavier. Toilet paper is another example, which, yes, there's a lot of demand, a lot of subscription based usage, but again, and it's quite light, but just the size and bulk of that would mean higher shipping costs. So that's again something that's going to eat into your margins. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and tell me what other aspect of e-commerce would you like to learn. I'll look at the feedback from that to think about posting more. Thank you for your time again, and have a great day.